Howdy, folks. Good evening, friends and neighbors. Hope you're doing well. It is a great day to get back on track. I know it's a little weird not having a post game show, not having a game really to talk about at this point, but there's plenty going on. And I'm pretty excited about it. I want to say hi to all of you that are regulars. I see a ton here already. The house is full of the standbys. I appreciate it. And I know there'll be a lot of other people joining here in a minute. So don't worry about it. If there is any problems with the audio, please let me know in the chat. I think Aaron is going to be here later, our fearless mod. So stand by for him. And if there is anything, you can reach out to him, and that should help out. Tonight's beer, for all of you that are fans, Dragon's Milk White. It's a nice beer. Something that I enjoy quite a bit, and I kind of circle back to it all the time because I just can't get enough. Oh, man. Hi, guys. I see a ton of you. A couple of newbies, too. Hello to Louisville. How are you, Natalie? I always like it when more ladies join the channel. We don't have enough of your fair gender around here. Brian, thanks already, man. That was quick. Well, I'm glad you guys are pumped. I'm pretty pumped. There's a lot going on. I hope you guys all saw that they arrived. Everything's good. They're all in Miami, and the team's ready to go. I'm not going to talk a ton, and I'm not going to expound a lot. We'll get right into the questions here in a minute. I'm sure you guys have a ton, but I just want to say that I think that they're handling this pretty well. I think like they're loose because they wore the shirts and stuff, and they were pretty mellow, but yet they weren't like crazy like the 49ers. I think were a little more upbeat, a little more like euphoric, want to say. So that makes me feel like the team's a little bit more about the business at hand, and I like that. So that felt good as well. So if you want to help the channel, Brian Gooch already did. Thank you, Brian, as always. I'm glad you're going rogue with the rest of us. Got some folks that actually found through the channel that are working on some logos for me, working on some t-shirt designs. A lot of great ideas out there, and a lot of you guys have them, and I don't. So it's really going to work out. Gary Downs, I appreciate that comment. And I'm starting to move things over to this channel where all the Chiefs content will be. That was by far the overwhelming majority of people. When I asked the questions over the last couple of weeks of where they wanted everything, everybody wanted, except for a few stragglers, Aaron being one of them, strangely enough, that wanted everything on one channel for Chiefs. And so the other channel will eventually become beer only. Right now, the short pods, the daily updates are over there, and I'm moving away from doing pods every day, but we'll have a couple of days a week over here because still want to encourage people to go check out Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the Locked On Chiefs over there because it is a podcast format, and that's really where it belongs, so it makes it easier. But moving here, that other channel will become the beer channel. I've got some contributors that are going to help me out, some pals of mine, and we're going to make a go at making a whole beer channel too. So if you're into that, please make sure you're subscribed over there at RGR Podcast. That will become RGR Craft only. So looking forward to that. Rick, buddy, thanks for you. Appreciate your donation. And folks, if you want to help the channel out, if you want anything, the super chats and super stickers are open. That's the easiest way. The most effective way to help me is to buy the shirts or the mugs or whatever you find in the Teespring store. So for all of you that have, and we've seen an uptick in the sales lately, I really appreciate that. Thank you for all the help. All these things help. Rick, buddy, you're always contributing, and I appreciate that. And we're starting to get tons of good looking questions in here. So I'm going to pop the chat out, and we're going to get rolling on the questions. I don't want to get too far behind tonight. You guys know me. I'm always a little bit behind, but don't want to fall into the stratosphere. So, Chad the Barber, I just saw yours too. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And as always, if you're going to leave a donation and help out the channel, please ask a question. I know most of you do anyway, but I just want to say, let me get you something for it. And the first question marks, if you're new on the channel, by the way, hit the sub and the notification, but leave question marks at the beginning of your question in the chat. It helps me find them, especially it doesn't look like Aaron's in here yet. So my second set of eyeballs is always helpful. So I'm scrolling for the first question. Testicular tactics. What's up, buddy? Priest, Holmes, or Jamal Charles? If you say Larry Johnson or Marcus Allen, I'm going to reach into the internet and slap you. Well, I've been slapped before, and I ain't scared. But no, for me, it's going to be Jamal Charles. You could make an argument for me for Okoye as well. Wasn't a big fan of Larry off the field. I respect what he did, but I don't like what they did with him. They ran him in the ground. I think that contributed to his issues. I've spoken to Larry since then, and I do feel like he's got a better lease on his life, a little more control of his behavior. He's still a little out there. And Larry, if you're watching, I appreciate the time that we've talked on the phone. And folks, he's been on the Locked On Chiefs podcast a time or two with us, and I really appreciate that. But as far as on the field, I feel like the one that was the biggest game changer, and nothing against Priest, I think he would probably be my number 2, but Jamal is Jamal, and that his knee situation is sad because I think he had the most physical dominance of any of those guys. And it really allowed him to make the differences that he made. So that's where I'm coming from. Ian, not trying to look too far ahead, but are there players that you think the Chiefs should look to trade for? Trade? No, I don't think you want to give up any capital. I don't think there's anybody out there that you need to go get. Even cornerbacks, which I would say is still their top priority, I wouldn't go rush out to trade for them. I think there's going to be a couple of free agents. I don't know if they're affordable. This might be a pretty slow free agency period just because of dollars. But there's corners in the draft that I think you should be interested in. I think you should go after. There's a small exception that just actually came up today, and we can talk about that in a week or two once we get through this Super Bowl. But I think the draft is the way they're going to build this team. Richard Triplett. I think that the Niners will do a ton of play action pass. Do you think the same, or do you think they'll be ready for it? Yeah. Especially given how much they ran last time and how much everybody's focused on the Niners run game. And the Chiefs will be too. They need to stop it. By no means. They need to stop it. But it's not the same as the Titans offense. It's a speed run. So I don't know that you're going to see them use the same tactics and keeping the base defense and Reggie out there all the time. I think they're going to rotate the linebackers, but they might go with the nickel, the bigger nickel, 2 linebackers, and try to rotate the safeties and get. I think Sorensen will play a lot, so I think that'll be in the rotation. But I don't think they're going to go quite as heavy against the Niners because the Niners are built on speed. They block very well, but they're based on speed. Reggie defeats blocks. Wilson and Hitchens defeat them not quite as well, but pretty good. So I feel like if you still keep 2 nickel linebackers, 2 actual linebackers on the field in the nickel, you can have enough speed to get there and still combat some good blocks because the offensive line is good. Particularly what the tackles did last week was very good, very much a movement-based. It might start as zone, but then you're going to see him do some other things. And you got to be able to take on a fullback. So you got to have the linebackers in there. You can't go with a linebacker and Dan. That's just not enough beef. You can't do the small nickel that they like to do with Dan and Ben Neiman and expect to stop the run. So that's a pretty high priority for me. And yes, they'll play action off of that. So the Chiefs have been pretty good about understanding play action is coming. They did it with the Titans. I feel like they're prepared for that. There's some shifty receivers, but there's not like the all-out speed, except look for Kendrick Bourne. He's going to be their stretcher, I'm pretty sure. So they might try a couple of things with him. And when Kendrick Bourne comes in the game or you see the 11 sets, that's 3 wide receiver sets. When the Niners are in that, definitely look for play action then. Good question. Stevie Keys, what do you think our odds are? I put the Chiefs at about a 60% win right now. I don't think it's as close as Vegas does. Let's see. Christopher Skidmore, what in your opinion will be the key to the Chiefs bringing home the ring? It's going to be about playing disciplined football. You can let the Niners are going to run. They're a good running offense. You don't have to shut them down like you did Derrick Henry. You don't have to keep him under 100 yards. You have to keep him from hitting the big plays. You have to keep him from hitting home runs in the run game, which allows them to score as quickly as the Chiefs can. But it also allows them to beat you up a little bit. So you got to guard against that. That's key. But keep them between the tackles. You know, I expect them to try to run outside all the time. I don't mean between the tackles. That was a misstatement. Keep them between 2 players. Keep your players out on the edge, respect the edge, set the edge, and be able to flow to the ball. That's going to be key. They're going to give you a lot of misdirection, a lot of counter looks. And so you got to be on your keys. You got to be paying attention, and you got to react. So I still feel pretty good about it. When it comes to the play action game, they're going to get a chance to bite you a couple times. As long as you don't let those become home runs, again, I think you're going to be in good shape. Okay, who's next? Stevie Keys. Oh, and I just scrolled past it again. Hold on. This scrolling, man, it's crazy. Okay, Stevie Keys, what's the biggest key to winning? And that's efficiency on offense, scoring on your possessions. You can build a lead that way, I think, against this team. While the Niners are good and they're formidable, their defense, I think, will give up some big plays, especially Pat versus cover 3, which I expect them to play more because they're going to be scared of the speed of Hill and Hardman on Sherman in particular, but in general. So I do think there's going to be opportunity for some big plays. And on cover 3, you're going to be looking at trying to hit those seams in between. If they shift over and they give you that man look, you definitely want to try and hit those sideline routes because I think any of the Chiefs wide receivers can run away from the cornerbacks. It's whether they can get the releases or not. Let's see. T. Gilhooly. I like it. How many beers are you going to drink if we win? I will switch over to whiskey most probably if they win. And I mean, I will give you a post game after the game. We'll probably record the podcast first. That allows people to get a little bit of time to be able to watch. So that usually works out for me. And I will give you a podcast after as a post game. I will make no guarantees that I will not be partaking or that I won't be in a hurry to partake. So just let that be known. Metal Rocker, I'm doing great. Thanks, buddy. The weather like it's snowing here. Yeah, it's snowy here in Colorado too. My first question is that from last week, what do you think the Chiefs should sign Dirty Dan to a long-term because of his success in the playoffs? I don't know that they should. I mean, he is 28 years old. So, I mean, I don't know that I can say that. But if they do, I'm not going to raise a stink about it. But I do expect when his time is up, I think somebody's going to give him a bigger contract than the Chiefs are prepared to give him. So that's kind of where I'm at. Perry Harold, do you think that the Chiefs are getting too arrogant based on what Bieniemy said? No, I think that's stupid. That's Skip being Skip. That has been Andy's philosophy for years. Go back to Brett Favre. He said the same thing. Every play has an option for me to throw something to score on. That's the way the offense is designed. That has nothing to do with arrogance. That has to do with preparation. If they give me this look, I go short. If they give me this look, I go intermediate. If they give me this look, I go deep. And there's an option to go deep and score on every single play. That's not arrogance. That is offensive preparation, and that's what they have to have. Doctor Who, out of all the free agents, whose loss would disrupt the chemistry the most? I think Jones. Jones is a force in there in terms of levity in the locker room, intensity on the field. Sammy's a quieter guy. He doesn't affect everyone around him as much. He does affect the receivers, but I think that's about where it stops. I could be wrong. I'm not in that locker room, so I can't say. But I think those are the two big ones that you're going to be talking about, and I think it's going to be Jones. Ian, what Chiefs players could be unexpected game changers this weekend? Look for somebody in special teams. I think it could be Hardman. If they let Tyreek back there, obviously Tyreek. But Damien's been running really well. And if they get creases behind the linebackers, these linebackers are pretty good athletes. Fred Warner was a very good athlete, even by my scores. But I do feel that they're susceptible to what Damien can do. And so the wheels, the seams, I think Damien could be a guy that is underutilized right now or under scared of right now. They're not nervous about him, but I think he could have a big impact. Gary Holland, what do you think? Who do you think will be the MVP? My money's on Mahomes. Tactical tactics. You live in Bronco country. If you come to KC, you need to be baptized in barbecue sauce. I lived there for a long time, man. I have done my share. I know there's some new places that have sprung up since I moved to Colorado about 15 years ago. Slaps Q39, but I've been to them. I like them. No need for baptism. I don't like getting sticky. Ian Connors, do you expect for more gimmicky plays than usual this weekend? Not so much gimmicky, but a lot of misdirection. Yeah, that's what I would call it. A lot of motion that frees things up and a lot of things that look like one thing and go another way. The Niners run counter really, really well. And often, even if it's just a short one-step counter that the back does that maybe the quarterback doesn't, like not all the keys look the same like a traditional look. And that misdirection, I think, really helps. Jake Allig, looking ahead to next season, say if Watkins doesn't take a restructured deal, would you try to get a bigger body wide receiver or more of a possession style? you want somebody that is like Sammy. You want somebody like Ruggs. I don't think Ruggs is going to fall all the way to the 30s, but Ruggs is a big receiver. I think he's 6'2", and I think he's going to come in a little bit over that, 6'2.5", I think is what I've been told. He's big, but he's fast. This offense is about speed and breaking down defenses with speed. There is no more Jason Avance. There is no more slow guys, possession receivers. It's going to be downtown all the time. There needs to be 3 guys on the field that could break it deep at any given play. That's what I expect them to go after. And there are a number of guys that I think are going to test well enough speed-wise and are still bigger bodies that I think that's what they'll be looking for. Like Ruggs a lot, but there's plenty of them out there. Good question. Chad the Barber, thanks for yours. If I didn't say that before. Dwight Raleigh, score prediction. I don't really have one yet. I got to dig into the film still. I did some last week. I'm going to continue this week. I'll have my score prediction on Friday on the podcast, so check that out. It'll probably come up here on this channel on Saturday. Hey, Aaron made it. Good job. Stevie Keys, stopping the 49ers' unique run game and stopping the Niners' pass rush. Which is more important? Which will be harder? And what do you think of the coaching staff does for each? I think the pass rush is going to be good. It's going to have its moments, but its strongest, I feel, its strongest players on the outside, Ford and Bosa, right? The Chiefs are strongest on the outside at tackles. So I'm comfortable with Schwartz and with Fisher. Not a problem. It's going to be, for me, are there any of the 49ers interior guys that can exploit the A-gaps? That's the thing. I feel better about Wiz, but Wiz isn't as quick as he used to be. He's better at angles. He is a wise old veteran kind of guy. I'm comfortable with him. I'm not sure about Ryder Ryder. I always pronounce his name back and forth. I hear people say it so many different ways. I'm worried about that. If they start to buck that up, the Chiefs will move the pocket, and I feel like they can deal with that either way. It's that the Niners don't require as much creases when they're running the ball as the Titans did. So it's a little bit quicker to the hole. You have to be on your gap. You don't have as much time to let something go and recover. So it's got to be discipline, and it's got to be aggression. They have to go after it to fill holes. But the edges are going to be the key, in my opinion. Lewis, can we run like we did against the Titans with a 6-man front, or is this different? It's different. I think that nickel's going to be it, a 6-man, like you said. In the base defense, it's 7 dedicated to the run for the most part. I don't think they're going to do that as much. There will be downs for certain. And I do feel if the Niners come out in double tight with a fullback, they're going to go base. They need to. That's a mismatch power-wise otherwise. But I don't feel, Lewis, that they have to do that. I think the 6-man's going to be where it's at most of the time because I feel like Noddy, Pennell, Jones, Xavier, Saunders, I feel like they're going to control the interior pretty well. I think they have a slight advantage over the interior 3 of the offensive line for the Niners. So I feel like it's got to be around the edges for the Niners to run well. And I do feel like you can do that with 6 men as long as they can get off blocks. If not, you'll have to march them out there and you'll have to keep 7. Michael Nelson, do you think that the special teams and turnovers for field position will be a key in the victory? It always is. I don't know if there's going to be turnovers. It feels like this is like both teams are doing better holding onto the ball. But if it is, it'll be a turning point, I'm sure. Gary Hahn, what do you think the Chiefs, who do you want the Chiefs to draft in the first round? Right now, my thoughts are either Trevon Diggs or Christian Fulton. I want a corner. I want a guy that can stand out on his own and do his own thing. Christian hasn't played as well as he did last year, so I'm a little iffy about that. I still have tons of film to do. I haven't done any college film yet, you guys, because I don't do that until the Chiefs are done playing. But folks that I know are dropping Fulton a little bit, which puts him in range for the Chiefs to get. And some say the Diggs might even be a second rounder. I'm down with that. So I feel like both of them can play in this defense and offer enough customization that Spags can do what he wants. Mike Hall, how much can Suggs play help? How much can Suggs help with playing them twice a year? Maybe the Cardinals had a good defensive game plan. I don't think the Cardinals did very well, so I can't say that that's it. And he was only there that one year. I'm not sure if he got both games that the Cardinals played against the Niners. So the Suggs is going to do what he does. He can perform any task that he's asked to perform. So that's a good thing. I think he has recognition factor. So I don't think that he needs that experience in Arizona. I think he's got enough all the way around. I do expect Suggs to be a factor. This could be the last game that he ever plays. He could retire after the season. If that's how he feels, man, he's going to go all out, is the nicest way I can put that in case the kids are watching. Ian, if the Chiefs should win, should Alex get an honorary ring since it was such a huge part of Mahomes' development? I see where you're going there. That's not the way it works, but yeah, I mean, definitely he's owed a big thanks. And from what I understand, they're still pretty tight, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something throw his way. Billy Carr, what do you think the players dressing up as Big Red? I think it's cool. I think it shows you how united they are to try to get the coach over the hill, right? And I think that's a positive sign. It's something that unifies the team, and I think that's great. And I also feel like it shows that they're pretty business oriented, but they're loose enough, like personally, to relax a little bit. I'm glad they're not goofing off and everything. I like the way they came off the plane. They look like they're a little relaxed, but pretty focused on what they need to do. Stevie Keys, $20. Thanks for your donation, dude. As always. I asked a few questions already, but I'm not going to ask another one here. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll keep looking. Ask more. I'll get there. Thanks, dude. That's awful generous of you. Let's see. Keith Welch. Remember, folks, if you got a question, put the question marks before the question. It helps me find them because that's what I'm doing now, is trying to dig through here and find questions. Kellen Wetch, what's your take on KC stopping the San Fran run game? That's pretty much what I've been talking about, Keith, is just trying to use your athleticism, get to the edges, control gaps, and not get turned by some of the play action stuff. Rick, buddy, there you are. Thanks for yours earlier. Do you think that Andy will finally get a Belichick-type killer instinct and just open the floodgates and bury the Niners? I think Andy's going to be Andy. If they get up 3 scores, I think he'll slow off a little bit. That's what he'll do. Hopefully it doesn't make him regret that. Let's see. Finn, I'm glad you're here. Nice. Brian Gooch, again, thanks for yours. Do you believe that Jones gets an extension, or does he get tagged and traded? There's also an option where he just gets tagged and he plays out the season under the franchise tag. That's where I felt he was at the beginning of this season. Because honestly, I mean, there is a propensity for guys to get paid and let up and not put out like they used to. You know what I mean? So I think the Chiefs really wanted him to prove it. And I feel like he has. So I know if you guys missed it, we had Therese Paylor on the podcast yesterday. And though it didn't make it into the show, we talked a little bit offline, and he really feels that the team wants him back. He really feels that the team feels they need him and that he's done enough that they want to give him an extension. It's going to be about the dollars because you got the Mahomes contract coming too. So I think there is a possibility of a tag and trade. I think there's a possibility of a tag itself. But right now it feels like both sides want to get an extension done. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Great question, Brian. Nathan Roth, do you see Eric Berry wants to play next year? And does he play for the Chiefs? I don't know, man. It seems like that was some pretty sour grapes that they left with. If he really wants to play again, if he's able, I'd love to see it. I just don't know what the relationship's like. And that's what it comes down to. Man, can you imagine Tyrann and Eric Berry together? Wow. That's scary. With Juan over the top, man. But I have to say, I did see the announcement, and he did say that he chose to sit out this last year, and I'm not sure that I buy that. If I was a guy that had tryouts and had offers, and I don't think I would have taken a year. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know Eric or his people at all. So if his reps were telling him, hey, you shouldn't, okay, maybe. But it feels like that would have happened. So that's just my 2 cents. If I was a guy that took a year off and now I feel like I'm ready to play again, that's exactly what I'd say is I decided not to play last year. So now I'm ready. Who knows? The truth will come out when it comes out. Morbian 13, do you think the Chiefs defense will be ready against the 49ers offensive schemes? I do. I think Andy and Spags have had time to study, and I'm pretty confident in what they do with a bye week. So that does feel pretty good. Doctor Who, which offense, defense, special teams is the biggest part of the outcome in the Super Bowl? I think the one that could turn the page the most is the special teams, but I think the most important is the offense. If the offense stays true to what it can do and can consistently score, if we see them score on 8 out of 10 possessions, then they're going to be the most important, because I don't think the Niners can keep up with that. Ian, I'll have bold predictions for you later in the week. Stevie Keys, here you are. I felt, given all the offensive injuries, Reed has been varied in deep versus short and intermediate quick passing. Do you feel that previous variations have helped us versus the pass rush? I think the fact that he's gone to more quicker routes, and that the defense have stacked the deep part, played cover 3, played cover 4, tried to take away the deep. I think that has helped him, Patrick in particular, get the ball out, recognize that, get it gone. And I do feel that helps against the pass rush. There was a stat that came out today from Next Gen Stats, that the Chiefs have the best offensive line in the first 3 seconds in terms of giving up pressure. That's important. So you get the ball out in 3 seconds, which does not mean it has to be a short 10-yard pass. In 3 seconds, you can get those are intermediate to almost, longer end of intermediate routes. So yeah, I feel like that's helped, but I don't think that's the cause. You know what I mean? John Moser, how are DBs stack up against the receivers? Do you see a big game from Mathieu? I do. I think Matthew's going to draw a lot of attention on Kittle. I think they have to try to double him, slow him down, give him some different looks. I expect a lot of robber out of Mathieu, and I expect him to see when he does have to come up and get in Kittle's face, play him off the get-go, and have protection over the top. So, and I do feel the rest of them are going to be in good shape. It's the slot with Sanders, if he's in there, and protecting deep, I think is going to be. I think Bourne's their guy that they'll go to. I don't know if Pettis is even going to play, but he's interesting. So yeah, I think the DBs are in okay position. I don't feel like they're a weakness. Matt Mitchell, which teams have the advantage when it comes to special teams? I think it's a toss-up. They've been pretty good. They don't really turn the ball over from what I've seen. I want to say they've had 4 is all. So, I think the Chiefs have better returners. I think block-wise and everything, the Chiefs are at a disadvantage because they've given up a lot of blocks, and I think the Niners are strong in the middle, and I think that could help them there. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but what gives the Chiefs problems against Chargers cover 3? Is it scheme or familiarity? I don't think the cover 3 gives them problems at all, to tell you the truth. They've put up a lot of points against cover 3 teams, specifically the Chargers. I think the Chargers have why the Chargers games have been tight in years late is because of the huge big body receivers that the Chargers have in being able to keep up with what the Chiefs do. So I don't feel that it's a cover 3 that does anything. I think that's perfectly fine. I think it helps Kelce, and I think it'll help Hardman a little bit in this game if they decide to play a lot of cover 3, because those seams are where you want to attack a cover 3. So, yeah. Nathan Roth, are Wiley and McCoy going to be active? I have absolutely no idea. I hope so, but I don't know. Why haven't they been using Watts this postseason, Ian Connis? Just because he's not as familiar at this defense. There's a reason he didn't play much of the year. He played well when Thornhill got hurt, but they had to simplify some things. At least that's the way it looked on film to me. And so I think they're just trying to keep the guys with more experience out there. Fuller's taken over that safety role, and they're switching him, Mathieu, and Sorensen in and out, and I think they're happy with that. If they need to, I'm sure they'll go to Watts. I think they prefer him over Lucas in defense, as do I. I think Lucas is a good special teams player, but Lowlip, nice to see you. Does last year's blowout 35-3 at halftime have any bearing on this game? Can they do it again? No. Last year is last year. I don't think it means a thing, to tell you the truth. Lewis Howery, stack the box to stop the Niners. No, not anymore. Play the base, sure, but 8 in the box, I don't think so. It's about athleticism, so I don't think you want to go there. Oh, Jeremy Green, that's funny. Isaiah Cheras, I feel like Andy will get the ball out of PM15's hands quickly. I think that's a safe bet. Screens early and not allow the D-line to tee off on Pat. That's a good point, and thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. I don't know if screens where they want to go, because I think like the Niners linebackers are pretty quick, especially when they're playing forward. So they have a tendency to be, I think, one of the teams that are better equipped to snuff out the screens. They could, though. I think the wheel out of the backfield, the seam out of the backfield, the longer routes by the running backs where they have the advantage in momentum already when a linebacker makes the read. I feel like that's the way that they can really exploit them. And that may be hot routes. It may be quick passes. I'm not sure. But either way, I do feel like the running backs catching is going to be a good thing. Pono Kwai, mahalo. Thanks for joining. What type of run schemes does Andy throw out of the bag to keep Pat upright? Is McCoy playing? I don't know about McCoy, and I think Andy will come in, and I think you're going to see, especially in the 15, you're going to see the motion. You might see the pitch pass. I'm not 100%. But beyond that, I think you're going to see trying to find out what they're doing, the Niners. How are they? They're pretty good at disguise. Defense doesn't get here if they weren't. Are they going to play that true cover 3? Can we attack the seams consistently? Are they giving us a cover 3 look and then dropping into, single high man? That's going to be the question. So I think that they explore the seams with Kelce, with the slot receivers, or with the intermediate drags and crosses and see what's there. But I think it all comes off of play action and a little bit of stuff in the backfield. Gary Holland, what do you think of Florio said about Mahomes? I put it on the podcast. I think it's pretty low. I think it's irresponsible, especially when you say, hey, I'm not trying to say this, but then I come out and say this. Mike Florio is he's not somebody I listen to. Cole Keeler, her hypothetical, how many more interrupted years the Chiefs have a championship window? There are hiccups coming. Both of your tackles are getting up there in age. Right now they're functional. I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years. Corners are probably the same. Frank's in a good space, but other than Frank, you need another edge rusher that's on the younger side. I don't know if Damone Harris is enough. I do like what he's done, but I'm not sure that you can project him being a force in a couple of years. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's kind of, I think the window's a good 3 or 4 years. If they can reload, I think they're going to be okay. And I do feel like Veach has a pretty good view of what Andy wants, and I think that'll help. I'm pretty happy with what Veach has done. I know some people aren't, but I'm pretty solid with him. Lola, were you surprised to see Andy run the ball 10 times in one drive? I was, and I was pleasantly surprised all day long. Made me happy. And I think it was a smart move, too. I mean, strategically, a team that can't score that fast, keep the ball out of their hands until it's too late for them. That's not the case with the run game of the Niners, so I don't expect to see Andy go back to that unless they have, like I said, like a 3-score lead, 17 or more is my thought. And I guess technically that's barely a 3-score lead, but it is what it is. Finn, is the Super Bowl distraction a real thing? It definitely is. Guys go down there and lose their mind. They get caught up in all the things that are going on, and it's just not easy to focus. Dean 3121, can the Chiefs take anything from the preseason game over the Niners? No. They don't run any serious offense in the preseason games, even in game 3. There's guys out in that game film that had, got hurt early in the year. They're not going to see him here. Joey Bosa is not near the same player. He has progressed as a rookie, so I don't take much away from that preseason game at all. I haven't even watched it again, and I won't. Aaron Morrow, Sleepy Dog asks, thanks for pointing this out, Aaron. I appreciate that. Sorry, Sleeps, doggy. Is there an offense the Chiefs face this year that runs similar system to what the Niners run? No. The Niners are unique. Kyle Shanahan is about as creative with the run game as Andy is with the pass game. You could maybe relate to some of the intricacies that McVay did last year when the Chiefs went there and had that blowout and ended up losing. You can see some of the wham stuff that Frank Reich runs in Indianapolis. There's elements of that too. But I mean, the Niners use the fullback consistently and often, and nobody really does that anymore. I mean, somebody said, I think was it Chris Sims? It was somebody this week, that the Chiefs are like number 3 in fullback usage. The Niners are number 1, and that tells you what a gap that is. So I just don't take much away from doing that. I think they're pretty unique, and you got to study them. That's what I've done, and I'm 99% sure that's what the Chiefs staff has done. Metal Rocker, which round should the Chiefs go for a running back, or should they go for a power fast guy like Henry, hybrid like Hunt, or another speed guy like Damian? I like the hybrid guy. I don't think the Derrick Henry thing is a model that the Chiefs can run very well. They don't have power blockers like that. They are athlete blockers. They're a zone team and a zone only team. You know what I mean? Like they can try to run power, but it doesn't work very well. So I think your middle of the road guy, a guy like Darrell Williams. I like Darrell. I'm really bummed he got hurt this year because I think he would be a factor in this game. But someone like him, a guy that's got good speed but not great, and I think you'll probably get another speed guy too. I expect a couple of running backs to be new to the roster next year. But none in free agency, nothing like that. And I wouldn't draft a running back until day 3, and I probably would wait until at least the 5th round. There are too many good athletes at running back that you can plug in. That's still the case. Teams get themselves in trouble when they do things like Gurley contracts and Elliott contracts, and you see what happens with that. And particularly in this offense, there are a lot of backs can do what they do. Where they make themselves stand out is athleticism or how they run. Darrell's good in between the tackles. He catches the ball really well. Damian has the speed factor. He doesn't run inside that well. It's about what you can bring, and you don't have to be a complete back in this offense. You've got to be able to catch. You got to be able to pass block, and you got to be able to exploit some kind of weakness by the defense. Who's next? Nathan Roth. If the Chiefs should win, bad luck, Chuck, get a ring. I don't know who that is. Oh, is that the guy with who left during the game? Yeah, no, he's not part of the team. That doesn't earn you a Super Bowl ring, dude. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Whether the fans are in the stands or not, anyone in particular doesn't really. Jay Wright, when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, can Patrick write his own check? He already can, man. But definitely, with the Super Bowl ring, it's even that much more. He is easily the best NFL quarterback there is today, arguably the best player today. Winning a Super Bowl is icing on the cake at that point. His contract's going to be, I think, 240 plus. I'm hoping that it's, longer than 6 years, but I'm not certain. So that's going to be the question. Brian Gooch, another super chat. Thanks, dude. Things not being talked about is the O-line. I've rewatched the last quarter of the season. This group is the real deal besides the Colts and Dallas. This is a top 5 line and may have the edge against the best D-line in football. The edge, man, that's saying something. I don't know that I could go that far, but I agree with you. They are good, and they are good early in downs. It's the longer developing things that give them trouble. The stunts, the twists, basic zone stuff in the run game is fine. They pass block well. They're athletic. I think the addition of Wisniewski has really changed this. And that doesn't mean that I'm down on Wiley. I think Wiley should be a primary backup. But Wisniewski has the experience, and I think that's really paid off in some things that you've seen. He's not the athlete that the younger guys are. That's clear. When you saw Pat's big run last week, he definitely could not keep up and help out once Pat got rolling. And that's okay. His job is to perform within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and I'm okay with that. They have other guys that they can pull and get in space. Fish, LDT, even Ryder can get out and move on screens and that kind of thing away from the center of the field. I don't need Wiz for that. I need Wiz to be man in that A gap and not letting Mahomes get crushed. So I feel like the interior 3 are going to be the question mark. I think they're really evenly matched as a unit, the interior 3 against Buckner and Armstead. And even Solomon Thomas, when he comes in, he's gotten better this year. I still don't think he's lived up to his draft slot, but he's gotten better. I think the place where the Chiefs probably have an edge is knowing what D4 does. And people are really high on Bosa, but Joey doesn't have a sack against Pat Mahomes, so I don't know. I feel pretty confident about what the tackles can do. Great question, Brian. Thanks for asking it, and thanks for the super chat. Pono, do you see Pat restructuring his new contract to rebuild around the team? He won't have to. I think they'll build that in to give it a structure to begin with that allows them to keep the players coming in that can support him. I think Pat's pretty well aware that he needs his playmakers in order to be able to be what he is. You lose guys with speed on the offense, Pat can't do what he does. If you don't have a defense that can hold up and keep a middle ground, it makes it real hard for him to execute flawlessly all the time and keep the team in game. So I think Pat does realize the value of having enough money on the roster to help him. Red Royce, do you think Brady will go to the Chargers like I've heard some talking heads say? I think it's a great thing. I do feel like that's one of the landing spots that I could see. I don't know that I buy some of the others that I've heard. I think Spanos would want him. The big question is, why would Tom want to work for the Spanos family? I don't know. Other than living in LA, post football, he might have his sights sets on a media career or an acting career. He's got a wife that can move in those circles. So I could see the West Coast being attractive to him. I just don't know. It's a good question, though. Jamie Franklin, can you do film on Mike Pennell? I can give you a couple, yeah. I mean, Mike didn't have many splash plays the last couple of weeks. He's just been solid. So there's not a ton to show you there, but he holds his own well. He can shed blocks, and that's the big thing. How much time do you think that the front line will give Mahomes in the pocket, Jared Cole? I think that he's gonna have to move a little bit. They're gonna get pressure, but I do feel like they're gonna be able to hold him up for 2.5 seconds. And I think that's what Pat needs. I don't think he has to have a ton more. Adam Daughtry, and a receiver 100 plus for the Super Bowl. 100 plus. I think. Do you mean Madden? I don't know, man. Let's see. Stevie Keys, when Suggs isn't on the field, do the Chiefs kick out Jones, or do you feel better about Jones inside and K-Pass outside? That's a good question. Against McGlinchey, I think you can put K-Pass outside and let Chris Jones go in the B gaps, attack the guards. I think that's okay. But I think the biggest thing is that you can switch them around. You don't have to put them in one place, and I think that helps. I think you could see K-Pass and Chris Jones switch off in that scenario. I think you could say K-Pass over on the other side, a tackle next to Frank. I think that's a great thing about that defensive line is they can move it around. They can mix and match how they want. Mike Hall, how do you feel about the lineman battles? Do the Chiefs have an advantage? That defensive front is better overall, I think, than the Chiefs are overall. But I do feel like the tackles are even with theirs, if not have a little bit of advantage in experience and knowing D. But I do feel like the interior guys might have the athleticism, the power advantage on the interior, especially at center. So it's kind of a trade-off. I think that's going to be a great battle. I think you're going to see good plays on both sides of the ball. Metal Rocker, should the Chiefs possibly bring back Barry since he has plans to play? I don't think so. If they do, it's because he's fully healthy and they haven't burned that bridge, but it sure felt like that bridge got burnt, so I don't know. Scott Miller, any thoughts on the Chargers moving on from Rivers? He and Dirty Dan made such a great combo. That's a great way to put it. Not unexpected for me. I'm not sure if Philip really wants to play anymore, especially if he has to change his thing. Evidently, he moved his family to Florida. I'm pretty sure the Dolphins are going to draft a quarterback, so I don't know why you'd have him there, especially if you have Fitz who can kind of show him the ropes, right? Maybe Fitz is a free agent. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, man. The Chargers are in a bad spot. They're going to have to get a quarterback. Expect them to be active, and you might see them trade up pretty quickly in the draft here to get a guy that they want. I would not be surprised to see that be Herbert, to tell you the truth. Aaron Mara, how many trades do you think we'll see did we make with the Niners this offseason? This offseason, it was just the Ford trade. Before that, it was Alex. I think there was one more, and I can't remember when that was. But I think there was only one in the last year. Ben Lala, thank you, sir. Thunder Dan 88, what's up, Dan? Guys, make sure you're checking out Dan on the Draft Wire podcast. Do you think that the Niners running backs are better than Gordon and Eckler, Josh Jacobs and Jalen Richard, Dalvin and Alexander Madison? I don't, and the Chiefs D was solid slowing them when it mattered. I agree with you, but I will say this too. The Chiefs were good at slowing all of them down. You're absolutely right. But I think they could sell out to do that without having to worry as much about the home run. I think the athletes in San Francisco at running back are better than any of those combinations. When you had Melvin Gordon fully healthy, you saw Eckler go for a lot of passes, right? And I think that could be a very similar combination. So I might put Gordon Eckler up there at the time. Jacobs Richard, no. Cook, Madison, no. These guys are for real. They have a lot of burners, a lot of speed, but they're not that big and resilient. So it's about getting your body in place to tackle them and making sure you watch those angles. Let's see. Jonathan Hobbs. Do you think the Chiefs O-line could be a low-key MVP and lead the Chiefs to Super Bowl victory? They could. I don't think the mismatch is that great. And I feel like if the game plan's in place to either move the pocket or really get the ball out in tempo, it doesn't necessarily have to be fast, but it has to be on tempo. I think that this line could be somebody that keeps the Niners line from having a huge impact. Aaron Morrow, I like the way you think. Sherman will have a big play, probably on special teams. Jerry Cole, do you think the Niners hold Jimmy G to utilizing the run game more or rely on his passing? I think they're going to try and wear the Chiefs defense out. They're going to try and explore with the run game and go to Jimmy when they need to. And then the second half, I think they're going to come out firing. Especially if they're down, they're going to have to. Dwight Raleigh, do you think that Mahomes' new contract coming up so high, would our starting stars be willing to stay with not so much a bump in pay? I think it all plays together, especially if Mahomes doesn't break the bank as much as the perception is he could. Like it depends what the players think. If they think he's going to get $250 million and he takes $220, so there's an extra $30 million lying around for everybody else, I think that would encourage some. And I tell you what, there's no bigger draw in this league than winning. That's what players want, especially veteran players. They want to win. So I think that has a big, big effect. Ben Lila, thanks for your donation. Before I saw that, this is your question now. Is there something different in the blocking or look that makes the Chiefs' touch pass work better than a regular jet sweep? It's not so much that it's anything different. The motion's pretty much the same. It's that they usually cross it with something else. And they get everybody flowing in two different ways. And what generally happens when you bring guys in from both edges, the defense condenses down. And then you don't know where it's going. And so when it's Tyreek that gets the ball, he has so much acceleration that as the defense has contracted down to try and stop whatever motion they saw, all of a sudden somebody sees him going around the outside. And generally it's just too late. Low lip. Why aren't the Niners getting ragged on for drafting Solomon Thomas over Pat Mahomes? I don't know. I certainly think that's a deficit. I mean, they needed a quarterback at the time, but I mean, I guess it wasn't, if I remember right, they had just gotten Garoppolo, so maybe they felt that they were set. They did give up a lot of draft capital for him, but I wouldn't have been, sold on him. That's just me. Michael, how do the Chiefs attack their defense? Should the Chiefs run more? I do like them running a little bit more. I want to see them pitch. I want to see them make the defense run. Even if they're not gaining yards, if they're running laterally and making the defense run, it tires them out. It slows them down a little bit. And then I think the play action is going to work for Pat. I think you're going to see play action in the seams. I think you're going to see crossers out of the slots and Kelce. And I think that's the way to start. And then that brings everything down. And then if they're going to stay in a cover 3 and Sherman starts to cheat up, if you start to see Richard Sherman creeping up on whoever his guy is, you're then going to see Tyreek Hill come over. And he's either going to bail early or Tyreek's going to run right past him. And I think that's part of the game plan. Unnecessary roughness. Do you agree that Chiefs are better equipped for the Niners pass rushers because of the division they're in, i.e. with Von Miller, Chubb, Bosa, and Melvin Ingram? I think that does serve something, but it's also because the other half of the Bosa equation is Dee Ford, and they know him really well. But yes, they do face a lot of good pass rushers, and even until this year, they had Khalil Mack as well. So Schwartz and Fisher in particular are familiar with playing against high-end elite pass rushers. Doctor Who, is Andy getting us ready for Coach EB to eventually take over? Andy mentions his leadership at every chance he gets. He does, but that's to get him a job. I don't think Andy has any idea, even if he wins this Super Bowl, of going anywhere anytime soon. I think Andy's looking for another at least 5 years. I think he wants Eric to go get a job. If Eric does, and I think he will next year, then it becomes about timing. And can you get Eric back? I don't know. If Eric takes a job next year, signs a 4-year contract, there's a possibility Andy's ready when Eric's contract's up. Just saying. So, Justin Trobaugh, I have a .58 jersey for you. I'm sorry. I must have missed it, man. I've been so busy doing production. I haven't been in the comments as much, Justin. Let me get you a P.O. box. I have one somewhere. I just don't remember what it is offhand, but man, that's hilarious. And you will get huge ups for that. So, wow, that's great. Yeah, I will try to ping you here this week and we'll get together. Thanks, Justin. Jeez. Okay. Let's see who's next. Matt Mitchell, since no one else asked, I will. If the Chiefs win Super Bowl 53, will Andy retire? Okay, you had the same thought as him. No, I just don't see it happening. Nathan Altick, what bulletin board material will Frank provide this week? I don't know. I think Frank's pretty good at finding stuff. Tom Brady was good at making stuff up, but I think Frank's pretty good at finding stuff. And a pissed off Frank Clark I like. Tyler Thatcher. Chances we see McCole and Tyreek in the backfield together. Lots of misdirection forces linebackers to choose a side. I don't know about the backfield. I can see them both doing the push pass stuff, the jet sweep stuff, but I don't think you're going to line them both up in the backfield. I do hope that they stack them on one side of the field. If you saw my film from last week, you saw how a little bit of motion for Tyreek really, for Hardman got Tyreek loose. I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see some speed together, and I think that's really going to change what's going on there. Let's see. Who's next? Oh, Flam Yo Diddle. Okay, that sounds fun. Does G4 jump off sides this game? I'm sure he does at least once. I don't know if it's going to cost him anything, though, other than a 5-yard penalty. Let's see. Richard Lindsay, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Keep doing what we do. Yeah, I'm with you. Little bit of everything, right? Aaron Morrow, Ryan, what's the channel's email? I don't usually like to announce it back here. If you go to the About page, everybody, you can find an email to contact me. And I don't like to put it in the video because there's crawlers that go through and pull the text out, and then I just get all kinds of spam. But hit the About page on the channel, and it's in there for a contact. Stevie Keys, if Andy runs 21 or 12 personnel and only sends 3 to run routes, can the Chiefs still get some big plays in deep? Yes. It's not a problem. You don't have to flood it. They could even run just 2 wide receivers and keep the tight ends in. They could run a big set and still get chances and shots to play deep, because when they do that, the alignment forces them to take an extra DB out and put a linebacker in and bring it all in, and that always helps. Aaron, okay, got that one. I don't remember the P.O. box off myself. Honestly, I don't even know if I paid for it in the last 3 months, so I might not have a P.O. box right now, but I will go find it. Let me see. Not sure. I'll reach out to Justin either way, but I think it should be in there. I'm sorry if it's being troublesome to find right now. Jerry, do you think the Chiefs will use a flea flicker? Not necessarily. I don't think they need to. Olin Holland, are you as tired of me hearing about San Francisco overcoming injuries? Yeah, I mean, hey, everybody's hurt one point or another, you know. Henry Forrest, glad you're here. I like Tulsa. I worked down there for about 6 months. David Larley, with the pass rush of the Niners, would you run more? I would always run more. I mean, but yeah, I mean, especially things like pitches and counters, things that get the running backs out to the edges, because you're going to have that push. If you can get it out real quick, I think that's good. Toshes, even the Jets, whatever. I think you're going to see some of that loop motion, because I think that breaks the defense down, but then gets you to the edge real quick too. So I'd like to see some loop motion with that guy getting the ball some. Aaron, do we have anyone here typically roots for another team but showing us support? That'd be great to know. I would love to know that. Kush, will LaShawn play in the Super Bowl? I don't know, man. I wish. I really do, but I don't know. Chris Kesey, thanks for yours. Breland or Fuller, do we keep one or both? Week 5, I would have said none. Now, I think Breeland's going to get a pretty good offer. I think the Chiefs don't have a ton of money, so you might lose him. I think Fuller, if he comes back, he could be the third safety. I mean, I like what he's doing. I think they have confidence in him. They could go young and get another young safety to fill in. Matt Miller just said tonight Grant Delpit's going to go in the second round. That shocks me. So, hey, there's more power to him. I think there's options there. I think that lets them move on from Dan because I think Dan's going to get paid, and I don't think they can afford that. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting options out there. There are things that are going to be coming. Justin, I grabbed your email. I'm going to make a note of that right now, and I will email you. How's that? That's super nice of you, dude. I hope you didn't spend more than $5 on it. I'm not really worth it. Okay. Pasted and saved. Okay, good. I'm in good shape now. Let's see. Low lip, an extension for Pennell. Not an extension, but they can re-sign him. I don't think you're going to see an extension. I think it's past the extension point. I think that was the trade deadline. So, but yeah, I'd like to see Pennell back. I think they would too. Who's next? Question marks at the beginning, folks, especially if you just joined. We may have covered your topic already, but let me know. Put the question marks at the beginning of your question. Brian Larson, where do we post picks video from Super Bowl week from Miami? Okay, there's a community tab on this channel. You can post it there. It should let you upload, I think, like 6-minute videos or whatever. I will also try to find another place. Maybe I can find, I'll open a new Dropbox or something and let everybody in, and we can post them all there. That would be great. I will use your footage. If you guys are there, I will use your stuff. So I will try to put that out here in the Wednesday video if I can get that all squared away. Thanks for reminding me on that, though. And if you have any trouble, Brian, just ping me or Aaron in the next chat and we'll get it squared away. Hope you have a blast, by the way, dude. I am a little bit jealous, I have to say. Oregon Chiefs fan, what's up, buddy? Who's your pick for the fringe player to make the big unexpected play? Ooh, that's a good question. I kind of feel like, I don't know, man. You know me. I try not to play favorites, but I feel like Reggie could make a big play in this game. I think he's going to have opportunities, and I feel like his size versus those running backs, he could pop something loose. I really do feel like that. And on the offensive side, if Pringle gets in the game, I feel like Pringle could bust something. He's got deceptive speed. He runs strong. He's hard to tackle. I really do feel like if they can get Byron Pringle involved later, I think he could do something. Great question. Tatum 757, can the Chiefs tire out the Niners defensive line? They absolutely can. They need to, I think, a little bit. I think that's important for them. And if and when they do, I think that will pay dividends because the Niners are not used to working that hard. They've been so solid at defense that they haven't had to play as much. So I really do feel like if the bombs aren't there, if the quick scoring plays aren't there, just grind it out, like hurt them for a while. You don't have to be physical to wear somebody out. You just have to run more snaps, right? I like the physical game more than most do, but there are other ways to tire a defense. Great question. Brian Gooch, again, man, you're on fire, dude. You're going to own this channel here pretty soon. I see a decent game from Sammy, regardless of what people think of the AFC Championship, is why we brought him here. And the Super Bowl is the end result. He may have earned it. And that's a fair point. Brett Veach even made a comment that offseason moves were to make this team better in the playoffs. And they didn't need Sammy to carry them, obviously, to a 12-win season. Would it have been better if he was a little more consistent? I would have liked that. I think it would have earned his money. But if that got him there and he can perform in the Super Bowl to get them a win, more power to him. He's earned his money as far as I'm concerned. Good, very good point. And I do feel that that's how they feel too. Because how are you going to stop Hardman, Hill, and Sammy? Sammy's putting it up when he gets his opportunities. I think that's what it has to come down to. And that's not even talking about Kelce. Lolit, do you think that Andy will tell Mahomes to watch out for cheap shots, or do you think that'll be in the back of their minds? I think they're always aware. I don't think it has to be pointed out. And I think Pat's pretty aware. All right, we're going to finish up here with the last few, folks. Here's one from Thunder Dan. Again, make sure you check out the Draft Wire podcast that he runs. Do you feel the Chiefs' O-line and the defense is better than the Falcons? Because they beat San Fran 22-29 on December 15th, and we know Mahomes. Yes. That's a very good point. I would put the Chiefs O-line as a unit better than the Falcons, although they have a couple of players, particularly in Matthews, that I think are better than anybody the Chiefs have, outside of Schwartz, actually. So as a unit, yeah. But I do feel the Chiefs' defense is better than the Falcons. So you have a very, very good point. Nobody's insurmountable here. And I think that the big thing is you're going to get punched in the face, particularly by the Niners defense. How do you react? I feel pretty confident after what we've seen the last few weeks that that's what it's going to be. Aaron, thank you again. I appreciate that. Helping me get Justin squared away. Aaron, how many plays do we run this week? I think the Chiefs are going to run probably, I'm going to call it like 62. I'll call 62 plays for the offense in the Super Bowl. Deldrick Smith, how are you, bud? Do you think that Hardman will start over Robinson again? I mean, if they call it starting to be the third, yeah, I think he's earned that role by now. I don't expect Robinson back next year either, so why wouldn't you? Unnecessary roughness. Who is going to win the Super Bowl? Who is going to the Super Bowl? Oh, you're not asking me. Sorry. Jerry Cole, if we get to the ring, does Suggs want a contract for the 3 years? I don't think so. He might come back on a 1 year if he feels he's holding up. I don't know. I think he was pretty close to retirement, to tell you the truth. I think if it hadn't been a contender that he liked, I don't know that he would have even reported, to tell you the truth. So I just don't know. Low lip, why the hell does Chris say when you look at so freaking I don't know. Yeah, we all have our tendencies. That's just one of the things Chris says. That and absolutely. It rubs off on me too, where I'll say absolutely like 20 times in a show. I don't know why, it just sinks in. Deldrick, do you think Shady will play? I'm not sure. Nathan Altic, when you and Chris Clark talked, you gave the Chiefs the edge in the matchups, which is contrary to the national thought. What do you see that they don't? Specifically, how the Chiefs can exploit specific matchups. That's where I give them the edge. And I think most of the national media doesn't have time to dive into the teams, right? And I'll admit, I don't know the Niners as well as I know the Chiefs. How could I? Because I watched and I go through the film every week. But I do see how this can stack up. Will it? No, there's always a possibility. There's always ways to beat particular players in specific plays, certain defenses. The question is, will you? So yeah, that's the only difference, I think. The national media doesn't have as much detail or as much time. I think those that do film well, like Baldinger, I have to give Chris Sims respect for what he does on the offense. I don't know that he knows the defense as well as he acts like, but when those guys come up with those little things, the little wrinkles that they try to show people, I would listen to them, and I think you guys should too, that they're decent resources. Let's see. Nice, Oregon. I like it. Red Royce, sausage for 100 yards. Man, I would love that. That would be awesome. Stevie Keys, would you like to see the Chiefs steal from the Niners run game for next season? Steal like plays? I would like to see them use the fullback more, and I'd love for the Niners to be an example of how to use that formation more, get him involved. Sherman's just as athletic as Juszczyk is, so I have no problem with that. And I do feel like Kyle Shanahan is as creative in the run game as Andy is in the pass game, and I'd like to see Andy take that on as a challenge. I'd like to see you could still be deceptive. You could still run with single backs if you want, but I would like to see them just take the general idea of let's get really creative with the run game. Great question or point, Stevie. Morgan Chiefs fan, I don't think the Niners can keep up with us if we play our game. Yeah, that's absolutely how I feel too. If the Chiefs are clicking on offense, if they score on 8 out of 10 possessions, the Chiefs win running away. And that's it, everybody. Justin, thank you. Everybody who contributed tonight with the super chats, thank you. If you want to help the channel out, grab some t-shirts, some mugs, whatever you want in the T-Strip store. It's down below, and you can find that. Aaron Morrow is our mod. Thank you for all of your help, Aaron, as always. Folks, I will be back with more film later this week. We'll do the post game as always. I'll have some podcasts in between, so check out the channel. I have content for you every day now, right here on RGR Football. Thanks for your time and hanging out, and I'll catch you next time.